Call to order this meeting of the Redevelopment Authority, and let the record reflect that we have a quorum. And move on to item number 20, public comment. Is there any public comment before we get started? Susan?
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Supervisors. I'm Susan Haas, Executive Director of RSVP, and I'm here today. Unfortunately, I missed the last meeting, and I just wanted to let you know I did not get notice of it, and so I was quite disconcerting. So I wanted to take this opportunity just to say hello and also to talk a little bit, if I may, about our programs. And we had talked before that the redevelopment funds are waning, that your supply of funding is going down, and that the allocations would also wane. And I do understand that. However, looking at the cuts, they're so huge and significant. So I just wanted to go over that a little bit, if I may, and to say that especially the 4th of July event, that's a huge event for our community, not just Carson City, regionally. And the cost of that event is quite high. Just for the pyrotechnics alone, it's $18,000. And then when you start looking at all the park fees and the dumpsters for proper hygiene and whatnot, it goes on and on and on. And we have worked really hard to bring wonderful special events to the region for many, many years, carrying on the legacy of my predecessor, Janice Ayers. And I have my fair manager here today, Tanis Causey, who's been working with me. And we've been making some significant changes with the fairs, bringing them more up to date, live music, fun events, things for multi-generational activities. So I would ask that as you look at how you're going to streamline things, don't forget how much RSVP brings into this community. And the funds that we receive from these special events go right back into Carson City. We're able to provide the full menu of services, everything from resistance exercise training to pro bono legal services, respite care. 24/7 caregivers get regular breaks, transportation programs. We provide assistance to other agencies so that they can meet their goals as well. So everything that we are asking for does come back ultimately to Carson City.
Thank you, Susan.
Welcome.
Is there any other public comment? All right, seeing, excuse me, I'll move on to item number 21, and that's possible approval of the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes of the Carson City Redevelopment Authority for April 16th, 2015 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 22, and this is coming from the Office of Business Development. Lee, are you going to take us through this?
Yes, thank you. For the record, Lee Plumwell, Community Development Director, under which redevelopment is. And this item is for possible action to prioritize and make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors regarding the expenditure of up to $65,000 from the FY 2015-2016 Redevelopment Revolving Fund to support various special events in support of the redevelopment district. So we accepted applications from various nonprofits and other organizations that put on events in the downtown and other areas within the redevelopment area in Carson City. And with those applications due on April 15th, we took those applications and actually as part of a recent policy that was adopted by the Redevelopment Authority and Board, we've split the applications between arts and culture applications this year and other special events, which are represented up on the board there, based on a definition in the policy. And 40% of that $65,000 is allocated to arts and culture events, and the 60% allocated to other events within the redevelopment area. I would like to make one correction on the spreadsheet that's up there is basically the spreadsheet that you have in your packet on the third page. Just to make a correction, in your packet we had the allocation to the arts and culture events as $39,000, but that for both, but it's actually $26,000 was allocated to the arts and culture, and that's just an error on this particular attachment. They knew that everybody knew the right number, so it's just an error on that attachment, and it's reflected up there on the board now. So the applications went to the respective the arts and culture events went to the Cultural Commission at their meeting in early May, and also the Redevelopment Authority Citizens Committee at their meeting in early May, and they've made the recommendations for the applications that are up on the screen there. With you can't see the heading on the top, but the top spreadsheet is the applications in the arts and culture category that the Cultural Commission reviewed and made a recommendation in column F here, and then the lower spreadsheet are the recommendations from the Redevelopment Authority Citizens Committee. Before I get into that, I'll note that in the audience, and if you do have any additional questions regarding this item, we put this together. This is the pool of redevelopment money, which is a total of $65,000. So we're presenting this as one application. But if you have questions regarding the Cultural Commission action, the Cultural Commission staff, Vern Cron is here, as well as the chairperson, Eleanor Bugley, and then Ronnie Hanneman from the Redevelopment Authority Citizens Committee is also here. If you have questions on their rationale and how they came to the funding recommendations. Just a couple notes. I have a late email from Rosine Benna, who represents the Peanut Cracker, so that Sierra Nevada Ballet. She was unable to attend today because of conflict. She's in San Francisco on a arts and conference tour. And she's here?
She sent me.
Okay, we have somebody to represent if she's got somebody. Thank you. Okay, so we have representation there. And I was going to note also that RSVP was not present at the Redevelopment Authority Citizens Committee meeting. In looking at staff now, I believe we went back and verified that the email was sent and it didn't get there internally or something. I'm not sure what happened, but we did attempt to send out notice of them at that meeting, but they were not able to be there. They were not present to provide their case to the Redevelopment Authority Citizens Committee. So with that, we have the spreadsheet up there. I don't know how you'd like to go through it, split them out between the arts and culture and those events. As I have in the past, we can on a live basis here plug in the numbers to come up with a funding recommendation within the budget. As I said, the recommendations for each are in the column F there, currently highlighted, and I'll be available for questions. And the applicants were informed of the meeting today and to be present in case you had any questions of them.
Thank you, Lee. I appreciate that. With that being said, I'm going to bring it to my board and see what comments you'd like to make with regards to that.
So what I'd like to say is I sit on the RAC, and I also attended for the first time the Cultural Commission, and I think that both boards did a good job reviewing the applications and determining the allocations. And so I'm going to support the committee because I don't find anything so egregious that I would need to make a change. So I think that they all did a fine job and took it serious and reviewed all of them. And as far as RSVP, I know that they weren't able to attend from, maybe the notice didn't get there, but we did in a prior redevelopment or RAC meetings indicate that we would be reducing funding because we think the long-term events should start to stand on their own. So given that we have previously made that notification, I feel comfortable with what the committee recommended.
Any other comment? Brad?
A couple of comments and questions. First, for the Cultural Commission, I'm fine with their numbers. I'm kind of with Lori. I'm not really interested in second-guessing the committees because that's why we task them with this work. I would just caution them that if next year, if you come up with a formula where you're just going to reduce everybody's request by a set percentage, you're going to get gamed at some point. So I think that you need to be aware of that, and you need to really look at the applications based at on need, and not necessarily just take a straight percentage off of every application, because then it becomes very easy to manipulate the system. On the Redevelopment Authority Citizens Committee, if I understand this correctly, the $7,000 that would go to the Carson Victory Rollers is subject to some conditions, so that money may or may not be allocated?
Correct. And at the bottom of the screen there, and I missed that in the presentation, but for the RAC's recommendation, the money for the Carson Victory Rollers, which is for the purchase of a sport track, to portable sport track for events in the downtown, it's conditioned upon them obtaining securing 3 bout dates within the redevelopment district, meaning some commitment letters and for location and events within the date. And I believe Crystal from the organization is here to address that if you have questions.
No, I just want to make sure that we all understand that if they don't have the 3 bouts, that money will roll back into
Correct.
Into the available funding.
Yes, thank you.
And then I would like to hear from the chair of the RAC on the $4,000 of available funding that was not allocated, just so we can get an understanding of what the thinking was on that.
Good afternoon, Ronnie Hanneman, Chair of RAC for the record. We decided that it would be a good idea to hold back some monies because of the fact there could be, and we always hear of these new events coming in for which we have no monies then to fund. At this particular point, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, I think, sometimes is tapped out. And since we are charged with trying to bring new events, especially into the redevelopment area, specifically into the downtown, it would be nice to have a reserve fund. And that was the thinking behind that.
Thank you, Ronnie. Any other board comment? Jim?
I like the way the system is set up now and the way we broke it apart, and the Cultural Commission and the RAC. And I do like the submittal process which it goes through. I, too, kind of hesitant about percentages because, as it was alluded to, it could be better played in the future. I do kind of think that as we move through these, just as Fish has not come back and is not seeking any fundraising money from us, I think we have to look at the long-term effects of what we do when we give funding to organizations year after year. And I think we need to explore new ones, such as the rollers. I think that's a good idea. I think it's something new. I would like to know, at the Nevada Fair, are we charging a gate fee this year? And if not, why not?
Susan?
Hi, Susan Taylor from the fair. And you want to talk?
Oh, just, Vern Cron, Carson City Park Planner.
Okay, part of the reason we aren't charging admission is we felt cost there's no fencing, or enough fencing that we could block enough area off to be able to have a gate where people can't, come in from every, side road and that and still get in. So there's really no way unless we fence the fairgrounds.
Can't we set something up where people can make donations?
We plan on doing that. We're
You
going to
do?
have pay if you wish or make a donation at the gate, and we will have people doing that.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
And Susan, you are charging for VIP parking this year, correct?
Yes, we are
Good.
charging $20 for VIP parking, and that will go on sale probably 1st of July.
Vern, did you have any comments?
Roger always tells me less is more, so we're going to go with that.
We'll go with that. Yes, Lori?
Just one other comment. Remember in the budget process that for the first time ever, we've moved Epic Rides into this, so that will also be another event that will be new to the community. So I think you saw the RAC committee really looking to go to a new direction. And as Mr. Shirk said, to start reducing the ongoing support for ones that have been here for a very long time. So I think we're moving in the right direction.
Mayor Bob?
Just let me ask to follow up on what Susan said during public comment. Is there anything that was said during that public comment that would change, because they weren't there, I mean, what they said today, anything that would change that allocation, Lee?
Well, as staff, I mean, could we have perhaps the chair should answer that of RAC, and I don't want to speak on behalf of RAC on that.
We listened to the testimony of those who were there, and there was no one that really protested any of the allocations, including the $4,000 carryover for new events. So there was no protestation at all.
Any further board comment, Jim?
Well, since we're talking about that $4,000, can we talk about the CCC's remaining $13,000?
Jim, that was an error. 26,000 is the actual figure.
Sorry. It's over my shoulder, and I can't see that one. It should be on my screen right here, and I can see it. Okay, thank you.
I can add a little bit of something from the meeting. Even though RSVP was not present, I do want to let you know that the board actually discussed their funding, the pros and the cons, and prior actions. So even though they weren't there, it wasn't that the board penalized them because they weren't there. So that's a better way for me to say this, is they actually took their application into consideration, and we had discussion. So.
Thank you for that clarity. Board comment? Any public comment? Seeing none, then I'm going to bring this back to the board and see where we go.
I move to approve and recommend that the Board of Supervisors authorize the expenditure of $26,000 from the fiscal year 2015-2016 Redevelopment Revolving Fund to support various arts and culture special events as recommended by the Cultural Commission, and authorize 35. Is that number isn't correct, right? It should be 31,000?
No, it's 35.
Okay, 35,000 to support various other special events as recommended by Redevelopment Authority Citizens Committee in support of the redevelopment district.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all. I wish there was more funding to go around, but it is what it is, and we are trying to make an effort to fund new things coming to the community as well. So thank you all. Okay, we're going to move on to item 22B, and Lee, you're going to take us through this one.
Yes, thank you. I got to go back one item here, sorry. This item is the bylaws, correct? Thank you. This is to amend the Redevelopment Authority Citizens Committee bylaws to change the regular RAC meeting dates from monthly to quarterly. I think I reported on this previously. RAC has had a couple meetings and discussed the volume of applications and the time and of the duties that they have, and felt that it would be better to reduce the number of scheduled meetings so that they know when we will certainly have meetings, which would be quarterly. We could schedule special meetings on the in-between dates, which we already have scheduled for this year because of the downtown project in particular, and then also leading into discussions about the future of redevelopment funding and priorities. We're also going to have some special meetings on that. But the recommendation is to go to quarterly meetings, and it would be based around the time that they need to meet to review the special events, which is the one kind of fixed date during the year. And in order to approve the bylaws, it requires Redevelopment Authority approval, so we're bringing them to you to make that change.
Thank you, Lee. I'll open this up to the board for any questions. Seeing none, is there any public comment with regards to this issue? Seeing none, I will bring it back to the board.
I move to amend the Redevelopment Authority Citizens Committee RAC bylaws to change the regular RAC meetings dates from monthly to quarterly.
Second. I have a motion and a couple of seconds. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to item 23, additional public comment. Seeing none, we adjourn as the Redevelopment Authority, and I'll turn the gavel back over to the mayor.
We're going to call a meeting of the Carson City Board of Supervisors back to order. We're going to take up the issue of item number 26. This is the corollary on the board side for what we just did in redevelopment. We will incorporate by reference all the comments that were made and discussion that was made during the Redevelopment Authority on this item that was 22A under the Redevelopment Authority on this agenda. Is there anything anybody wants to add we didn't take up before? Board comments? Motions in order.
Resolution number, Sue? Is it 26? I'm guessing too, but.
R25.
All right. I move to adopt resolution number 2015 R25, authorizing the expenditure of $61,000 from the fiscal year 2014-15 revolving fund of the Redevelopment Authority to support various special events in support of the redevelopment district as an expense incidental to the carrying out of the redevelopment plan, with the funding of individual events as recommended by the Redevelopment Authority Citizens Committee and Carson City Cultural Commission.
Motion by Supervisor Abad, second by Supervisor Shirk on the motion. Discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Carried unanimous. Okay. We'll now move to item number 27, concluding public comment. Anybody have concluding public comment? Seeing none, we will then close the meeting. And Adriana, I don't know that I need a motion for this. Can I just say we're going to close it to meet with management for labor negotiations pursuant to NRS 288.2204?
You can actually adjourn the meeting because
I can adjourn the meeting?
the other meeting's not part of this open meeting.
Okay, unless, so everybody listen to this. Unless there's objection, we're going to adjourn the Board of Supervisors now. We will stay here in closed session to talk to lawyers about labor negotiations, and it's going to be closed pursuant to NRS 288.220 subsection 4. Okay? We'll wait until everybody leaves.